This is the MAKERA Carvera Air desktop CNC machine, and with it my dream is to completely level up the crafting tree and produce some of the best custom NERF blasters you've ever seen and get revenge for this tragedy that happened recently. There's only one problem: I'm a complete idiot when it comes to CNC. I have zero experience with this type of hardware and a vague understanding of the fundamentals. It's kind of like 3D printing, except instead of building something up by adding layer after layer of squirted plastic like a radio-controlled hot glue gun, a CNC intricately carves away material to leave only the shape you wanted remaining. How hard could it be? Well, because MAKERA sent me this whole Carvera Air unit and its accessories, I can show you just how easy it is. Thanks to this little book here, we can jump right into things. Let's make this LED lamp design. It looks like something probably clogging up every anime store in every mall you've ever been to. But we're going to make it completely from scratch. Every part, even down to the PCB holding the components, because the Carvera Air can not only build whatever you set your mind to out of so many different materials, it'll fundamentally change the way you see everyday objects from then onward. Unboxing the MAKERA Carvera Air is simple, but probably a two-person job. The machine itself came packaged as itself. The entire unit is one thing, with all of your accessories located inside of it. There's very little in terms of setup, with the entire frame being die-cast, making it heavy and stable. Once you've unboxed it, opened it, and removed its goodies, that's basically it. You can plug it in and immediately get started, but mine did come with some extras. There's the toolkit, which is included with the machine and comes with some starter bits, clamps, a screwdriver, and so forth, basically the things you need to get started. There's also a materials box giving you everything you need to get through the basic projects preloaded on your Carvera Air to not only demonstrate what it can do, but also to give you an easy tutorial walkthrough of how to do them. But then there's the optional fourth axis attachment, which on top of your X, Y, and Z movement options on your toolhead, gives you a fourth rotational axis to make some truly intricate and incredible things. You can also pick up the laser module attachment, which blesses your Carvera Air with the power of lasers, letting you easily do things like etch designs into wood. Setup is incredibly simple, and the instruction booklet does go into depth on what you need to do, so I won't get too detailed here, but once you make sure it's set to the right voltage for your power outlets and you plug the thing in, you can get to work immediately and turn the machine on. I downloaded the Carvera controller app on my PC, connected both of them together via USB-C, and from there I gave the Carvera Air my Wi-Fi password so it could play all the Roblox it wanted if it's been good and earned its screen time. Speaking of which, you can also connect a phone or tablet and use the optional phone/tablet holder to control your Carvera Air right at the machine, but this isn't needed. Actually, once you've got the software and everything on your computer and you've connected through Wi-Fi, you'll realize the Carvera Air only has a single button on it for you to communicate with it, and likewise, it only has a few LEDs and some beeps it can use to talk back to you. The machine comes preloaded with all the files you need to tackle its tutorial stages in any order you see fit, like Mega Man. The biggest project is, of course, the LED lamp we talked about, but let's just see what this thing can do and earn our first chips in our quest to become CNC King. The 3-axis relief is about as easy as it can get. Set the spoil board down and fasten this L-shaped bracket, and then you take one of your epoxy tooling board pieces. It does come with an extra one if you mess it up, or if you wanted to get grandma something nice for her birthday so she'll subscribe to your YouTube channel and hit the like button and finally admit to you that maybe you're not the failure your family thinks you are. Everything aligns with that bracket, and the spoiler board helps protect the bed surface if the bit cuts into it as you work. The Carvera comes with a bunch of different bits, and the instructions tell you what ones you need to use for what project. We've got two this time, which the machine identifies conveniently as Tool 1 and Tool 2, and the box tells us in depth what those tools are for. First thing the machine does is asks you to install the probe into its chuck, and yeah, this arm right here is what opens up the jaw on the tool head, and this wired probe is usually the first step. This will not only trace our working area out onto our piece with a friggin' laser beam so we can make sure it's not carving into anything we don't want it to, but it'll also probe that piece to automatically level everything and know where it's all at. Once it's done pew-pewing the part, it's time for action. Now we remove the probe, install our first bit, lock it into place, and hit the button to start cutting. And boy does it cut! Chips go everywhere, shapes start appearing, and the machine gets dirty. Thankfully, since that huge lid that completely seals the machine, the Carvera doesn't make much of a mess outside of itself, though some small chips do fall down under it. It's highly recommended that you have a shop vac or something else around to periodically clean things up as it's working, but you can also directly connect one into the machine and leave the vacuum running as it works. I printed this adapter for my DeWalt shop vac that I picked up from Costco for this specific machine. But you can also install an air assist pump to blow away material from the tool head as it cuts and also help keep your laser engravings under control. April. Once it's carved out this relief design that you see clogging up the local market down at the waterfront, it then cuts out the perimeter around the whole thing, only leaving small tabs connected to the rest of your material that you can then use the included handsaw to free your part from. The detail is extraordinary. This is some next level stuff right here. The Carvera Air is definitely a machine built more for precision, as it has a 0.01mm accuracy that can get some high precision details done on the parts you're machining. And unlike 3D printing, there's no layer lines or anything like that, just a light brushing to remove some of the dust and some sanding to clean up those tabs we cut out, and it seriously looks like something just carved out of wood. But when you add the fourth axis in, it can accomplish the same level of detail, but in 360 degrees. Kind of like a lathe, the fourth axis just clamps down onto the bed, the chuck holds a piece of material, in this case for our next tutorial, a block of epoxy tooling board, and then it rotates on that A axis while the machine is capable of also moving in the X, Y, and Z axis, giving you completely new ways of attacking your creative dreams. This Nefertiti head is done in two processes. The first is to rough out the material to give it the basic shape, and the second is to put in all of the small details. And those details are small. Look at this thing. It's absolutely minuscule, and yet it tackles details on the hat and clothing down to even inside the ears. The entire thing is smaller than my thumb. The fourth axis is huge for you if you want to make things like statues and figures, but the possibilities are endless. Oh, and the laser. This is the simplest project by far, only requiring you to put down a small board, socket in the laser, and run it, which the laser then burns down into the wood in short pulses to make a picture. The laser is only 5 kilowatts, so it's still plenty dangerous. Make sure that you know exactly what material you're burning and use the included eye protection when working around it. It's fantastic for etching materials, meaning you could use the Carvera Air to carve something out and then etch smaller details into it in one go. And also lasers are just cool. Just be safe around them. But before we get into my own personal vendetta, we have to clear the LED sign tutorial boss. This thing encompasses everything the Carvera Air is about. Step 1 is the PCB, which they include as a completely finished PCB with everything installed for you, but also blank PCBs and the components you could solder to it. But if you want to go one step beyond, there's also the PCB fabrication pack, which I'm using here. This will allow you to make a precisely engraved and masked off PCB board, giving you a lot more options, so you realistically have 3 different ways to complete this task. This whole step had me etch a PCB on the Carvera Air, then squirt a small amount of PCB mask onto it and let it cure over 15 minutes with a UV light. Then run another pass to explore more of the copper on the pad. From here, you just fit your components through, from the LEDs to the USB-C power port and everything else, solder them on there, and that's the electronics done. Next, we carve out the entire base of the light with this massive block of ABS plastic, which is the single coolest thing I can think of. It's just like the previous projects. You mount the block, put a bit in, and watch it go. This one made quite the mess out of black plastic, but once it finished, I just cut the base out and moved on to the display. They give you 5 different designs to choose from and 2 acrylic plates, and I went with what I felt was the most intricate design with the MAKERA display. It might not come off well on camera, but the tiny amount of details this thing can do is mind-boggling. That's 3 different materials already in this project, and the 4th is the most exciting: aluminum. That's right, the Carvera Air can do metals, and aluminum is perfect. In the LED lights case, this is the touch button that turns the thing on, so it really just carves out this little part that'll act as a button to turn the light on, but the potential is already there for my own applications and why I got so excited for this thing. With everything machined and soldered together, we just screw the PCB into the base with our aluminum touch button, pop on our acrylic display, and plug it in. Just like that, we got this amazingly detailed and eye-catching light that we made completely from scratch. And with this project finished and the tutorial cleared, it's time to move on to the final mission for our entry into CNC. When I was working on the video for the SMILEY, the 100% infill carbon fiber PETG bolt handle broke on me, causing me to not only slice my finger open, but also punch myself rather hard in the face.
I know better now.
So to make sure the Carvera Air can meet my needs in the workshop and actually be used for something other than the tutorials, I started off as simple as I could. Mighty Shrub included the bolt handle step file on the SMILEY printables page, so I just popped it into the MAKERA Cam software that comes free with the machine and got to learning. In this instance, I'm actually taking a 3D printable part and instead carving it out of aluminum. The material is just purchased off Amazon for a couple of bucks, and this amount right here could make me like 3 dozen bolt handles if it wasn't for the fact that this is my first time learning how to use this software. MAKERA Cam makes it pretty easy, as you can tell what material you're carving and the dimensions of it, and it already has all the tooling and everything in its own database. Since I used the 3.175 by 12mm single flute carving bit on the aluminum button for the LED lamp, I set everything up for the bolt handle to use the same bit. It took a couple of iterations and some learning what the different cuts did, but I finally wound up with this. I installed it inside my SMILEY bolt-action NERF Blaster, and I went to town. This is everything I've wanted. The added rigidity of the parts means there's no flex when priming back the spring load on the blaster, and since there is no flex, it's far easier to prime, and thus way more comfortable and faster. Turning the already incredible SMILEY into more of a beast of a foam flinger. And that's where things get even more interesting. The more I learn about CNC, the more I start to look at other things I can do with it. Not everything 3D printable is gonna immediately be able to be CNC'd because of the difference in manufacturing techniques, and some parts won't be as straightforward to cut and will require some editing to make it more approachable. But the Carvera Air does everything from beautifully high-detailed physical works of art to precisely machined functional components for builds and so much more. This machine unlocks a whole new world of possibilities for the maker in you, whether it's from an artistic or engineering perspective, and possibly both. It's simple to dive into its tutorials and projects to figure out what you can do and what you want to get out of it, and past that, there's some great communities out there that I'm already exploring. Shout out to you, Carvera Facebook group. Even if something looked like it wasn't going to work and I needed to save the machine or my material, the big red emergency stop button makes me feel at ease. I've even heard that some people have managed to mill out pieces with this thing from mild steel, so I'm hyped to start exploring that. And as of this video, I've already moved on to my next projects, which I couldn't do without the help of Hawkeye 007, a longtime friend of mine who was here for every step of my CNC journey because he's a machinist by trade who works with high-end CNC machines every day of his life, both for work and for his own personal projects. We've already started collaborating on projects to hopefully bring forth in the future, and having the Carvera Air right here in my shop opens up so many possibilities that I can't wait to expand upon. For those of you who lack a Hawkeye 007 in your pocket, however, there is a wiki with tons of detailed videos and tutorials on how to get the most out of your Carvera Air. Really, it's been perfect. More than perfect. It looks daunting at first, but thanks to the projects included with the machine, I found it really easy to leave their confines and move right into my own stuff. I did have some issues with the MAKERA CAM software, such as rotating parts at specific angles, causing it to break the geometry and mess up toolpaths, but it's in early days, and in the end, I got exactly what I set out to do. The Carvera control software is super simple to use to upload files to the machine and control it, even from a phone or tablet. Really, my only true complaints are small nitpicks, like the acrylic they use for the machine scratches super easily, so mine already has marks all over it, and that makes me sad, because I honestly do my best to try to keep this thing clean. No, this isn't going to be for everybody, and there's going to be a long learning curve that thankfully has a tight and friendly community around it to help answer your questions. Once you head down the road of learning what cuts work for what objects and piecing all of these puzzles together, you'll start looking at everything and wondering, how can I make that? You'll start looking at things from every angle, trying to figure out how you could set up different cuts to mill it out, how to set it up for different machining processes, and carve from multiple angles to truly unlock your full potential. The MAKERA Carvera Air is an astoundingly powerful and precise machine in a really compact package, and I'm stoked to bring you along for the ride as I start my journey to make stuff I can only dream of. If you're inspired to pick one up for yourself, there's an affiliate link down below that won't cost you anything extra, but does kick some extra pennies my way to help support my new addiction, and there will also be a discount code down there for those of you who want to save a bit yourself. And really, the only questions I have left for you are, where do we go from here? I mean, what should I start making next? I have the power to do pretty much anything, and we should totally abuse that.